about waves, dunes, fractals,
fracture and cracks,
spots and stripes,
symmetry,
spiral and benders, foams and bubbles, distillation and affine transformation, and Fibonacci sequence.
So come and join us!
Now let's talk about symmetry. Symmetry comes from a Greek word which means to measure together, and it is widely used in the field of geometry. Symmetry means that one shape becomes exactly another when it moves in some ways, such as flip, turn, or slide. For two objects to be symmetrical, they must have the same size and shape, with one object having different orientation from the other one. But take note that not all objects have symmetry. If an object is not symmetrical, it is called asymmetric. Now there are three types of symmetries. We have the reflection symmetry, the radial symmetry, and the translation symmetry. Now let's discuss first about the reflection symmetry. Now reflection symmetry is also known as bilateral symmetry. It is the mirror effect, or it is when an object is being flipped or reflected across a plane and creates a mirror or an image itself. Again, reflection symmetry is the mirror effect. It is when an object is being flipped or reflected across a plane and creates an image itself. These are the examples of reflection symmetry. Now let's discuss about the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is also known as rotation symmetry. It is when an object is being rotated in a certain direction around a point. Again, radial symmetry is also known as rotation symmetry. It is when an object is being rotated in a certain distance or direction around a point. And these are the examples of radial symmetry. Now let's talk about the last type of symmetry, which is the translation symmetry. Translation symmetry is when something undergoes or undergone a movement, either shift or slide, in a specified distance without any rotation or reflection. Again, translation symmetry is when something has undergone a movement, either shift or slide, in a specified distance without any rotation or reflection. And these are the examples of translation symmetry.
Spiral. Spiral is a curve which emanates from a point moving farther away as it revolves around the point. And in the natural world, you can find spiral, like in the DNA, double helix, sunflowers, and a draining path of waters and galaxies. And that's the most interesting examples of spiral. The term meanders is one which refers winding curve or bend in a river. Meanders are typically landforms in the lower courses of river. Examples of meanders are river bends, snake trails, and vine tendrils. Meanders can also appear in a human-made structures such as railways and paths, and thus interesting examples of meanders.
Waves. Waves transfer energy from one location to another. So this is an example of waves.
A foams or bubbles is a substance made by trapping air or gas bubbles inside a solid or liquid. Examples of foams formed by gases in liquid include sea foams and soap bubbles. Silation. As you can see in the photos, it uses shape to cover the surface with no gaps or overlaps. So now I'm going to tackle about the fracture and crack. First, we have fracture. Fracture occurs when the applied stress is sufficient to break the atomic bands of the solid. For example, like this. Separation of an object into two or more pieces
under stress. And we have crack. Crack is a line of a surface of something along which it has split with breaking into separate parts. For example, like this.
So stripes. Stripes are made up by a series of bands and strips, often made by width and length. Nature loves spots and stripes. For example, this video shows stripes. The next one is the example of spots.
Fractals. Fractals is a never-ending patterns or self-similarities. This is an example of fractals. While the affine transformation, it is a linear mapping method, preserves points, straight lines, and plane.
This picture right here is an example of Fibonacci sequence. So what is Fibonacci sequence? Fibonacci sequence is a nature's secret code and a nature's universal rule. Add the two Brody numbers and you can get the 2 ratio by dividing the two Fibonacci numbers. It can easily spotted in shells, sunflowers, and pine cones.